My boss tried to fire me for being too emotional at work. Then Effer found my backup recordings. I've always been the only woman on my engineering team. For 3 years, I worked twice as hard as my male colleagues, only to be labeled difficult whenever I spoke up in meetings. My manager, Dave, had a special talent for dismissing my ideas in team meetings, then presenting them as his own a week later. When I'd point this out, he'd say I was being too sensitive or misremembering. Last month, during my performance review, Dave slid a PIP performance improvement plan across the table. Your emotional outbursts are disrupting the team, he said. You need to work on your communication skills. I stared at the document stunned. My last project had saved the company over $200,000 and client feedback had been stellar. What emotional outbursts? I asked. Last week's meeting about the Henderson project. You became argumentative and made everyone uncomfortable. I remembered that meeting clearly. I'd calmly provided data showing why Dave's approach wouldn't work, using the exact same tone my male colleagues use daily. The difference was that I'd been right and Dave had been embarrassed. I don't think that's an accurate description, I said carefully. Dave sighed dramatically. This is exactly what I am talking about. You are being emotional right now. You need to accept feedback professionally if you want to succeed here. I took the PIP home that night and cried for the first time in years. A PIP is basically a countdown to being fired. I'd have 30 days to improve parent, meaning become completely silent parenter or lose my job. What Dave didn't know was that 6 months earlier, after he'd taken credit for my database solution, I'd started documenting everything. New York is a one-party consent state, so I'd been recording our team meetings on my phone. I had emails, performance metrics, and client testimonials saved in a folder called Just In Case. That night, I sent a meeting request to ER with the subject line, Gender Discrimination Documentation and Formal Complaint. The HR director, Melissa, initially seemed skeptical but agreed to review my evidence. I sent her 12 audio recordings, each labeled with dates and context, along with a document outlining the pattern. 2 days later, Melissa called me into her office. I expected a lecture about workplace harmony. Instead, I found the CEO waiting alongside her. We've reviewed your documentation, Melissa said. I want to apologize on behalf of the company. This should never have happened. The CEO looked troubled. I listened to the Henderson meeting recording myself. The contrast between how you were treated and how your male colleagues were addressed was enlightening. Dave was placed on administrative leave that afternoon. By the end of the week, he was gone. His replacement, the woman who'd been running the company's most successful division, Perrin, who'd apparently had her own Dave years earlier. My PIP was torn up. I received a substantial raise, a promotion, and a formal apology. Last week, I found a note on my desk from a junior female engineer. Thank you for showing me we don't have to choose between speaking up and staying employed. Sometimes the most professional thing you can do is refuse to let someone else define your reality. And sometimes the best response to you are being too emotional is calm, methodical documentation that speaks for itself. Keep your receipts, ladies. Your future self will thank you.